There's really no good reason not to have a dash cam in your car. Even if you live in the US where you don't really get a discount on your insurance, it's still worth having in the case of hit and runs or those kinds of accidents. The Viofo A129 Pro Duo offers front and rear cameras and 4K resolution, as well as some other handy features. It's also one of the most affordable 4K options you'll find. Now, is this an instant buy, or is it too good to be true? The A129 Pro Duo comes in a relatively small box, which may lead you to think there isn't much inside. Not so fast. Open it up and you'll find the front and rear camera nestled in form-fitting foam on top. Underneath, you'll find one short mini USB cable and one longer mini USB cable, along with a dual-port USB car charger. There's also one really long mini USB cable meant for connecting the rear camera to the front camera. That's not all, Viofo also included some nice accessories. You get 5 cable clips for neatly mounting cables, extra adhesive pads for both the front and rear cameras, a micro SD card reader, and a pry tool for hiding cables underneath your car's interior trim. Alongside these, you'll also find the warranty card and user manual. There's some other optional hardware that wasn't sent in the kit that we got for review, like an infrared internal camera you can use instead of the rear camera and a Bluetooth remote. You can also buy a kit to hardwire the camera to your car instead of plugging into the power port. You might get 2 cameras, but they're not identical. Only the front camera is 4K, for example, using a Sony Exmor-R sensor with a 130-degree viewing angle. The rear camera has a max 1080p resolution using a Sony Starvis sensor with a 140-degree viewing angle. That's more than enough to pick up a license plate if somebody rear-ends you, but it's just not going to be as detailed as the front camera. Of course, we know there's more to video quality than just resolution. The bit rate matters every bit as much, and in some cases more than the resolution. The rear camera has a single bit rate of 15 megabits per second, but with the front camera you have options. 15 is the minimum, with the maximum quality setting getting you 50 megabits per second. This dashcam supports up to 256 gig micro SD cards, which will record more than 7 hours at the highest bitrate setting. Like a lot of dashcams, this one uses loop recording, meaning it creates a lot of small videos. The default is 1-minute chunks. This will automatically write over the oldest ones as you start to fill up the card, which is great because it means you don't have to worry about manually deleting old footage. In case of an accident or other event you want to capture, there's an option to lock videos to keep them from being deleted. When you get the video files off of the SD card, you'll see video from both cameras, assuming both are mounted and plugged in. This is handy after the fact, but you also need a way to see them in the car. For this, the dashcam has picture-in-picture video overlaying the rear camera over the top left of the screen showing your front camera. You can also adjust this if you want to have the rear camera take up most of the screen, or even just show one camera or the other. While you can pop out the micro SD card and insert it into your computer to view a video, this can be a little cumbersome. Instead, you can use the dashcam's built-in Wi-Fi to pair with your smartphone using the Viofo app. This not only lets you play back recordings, but actually control every aspect of the camera right from your phone. Parking is where most minor accidents happen, which is why the A129 Pro Duo has 3 parking modes. These tend to work best if you went with the kit to hardwire the camera to your car, but you can use them in the other mode as well. These aren't as seamless as the parking modes on the Z-Edge Z3D that we looked at earlier this year, but they're still pretty full-featured. When it came time to install this kit, I didn't go for the hardwiring, I just installed using the included USB car charger. This still automatically powers the camera on and off when you start and turn off your car, so don't worry about having to remember to press record. The first step is to figure out where to mount it. This can be trickier than it sounds, as you want it not to obstruct your view while driving, but still get it in an area of the windshield that it can get a good view of the road. Ideally, it will also be somewhere that your windshield wipers can reach so the view isn't blocked by rain or snow. Where I live, the weather is already in full-on winter mode, so installing this was a little tougher than it would have been in nicer weather conditions. First, I needed to run the defroster for a while, then dry all the moisture off the inside of the windshield in order to mount the dashcam. Once I had prepared the windshield, the camera did stick fairly easily. Once it's mounted, you need to route the power cable. In some cases, you'll have a big enough gap in your vehicle's trim to tuck the cable away. though in some areas you'll need to use the included trim tool to pry it away and tuck in the cable. I was really glad that the trim tool was right in the box because it was absolutely essential at some parts of the installation. The rear camera is optional, but once you've installed the front camera, adding this one isn't much different. One thing to watch out for is to keep in mind where the port is while you're mounting this, otherwise you may not have room to plug it in after you've got it affixed to your windshield. Other than that, you're simply dealing with running a longer cable. Viofo recommends using the straight end of the cable for the rear camera and the angled end for connecting to the front camera. This didn't work for me at all, and I had to use the cable the reverse way. At first I wondered if maybe just the labels on the cable were mixed up, but that's the way it says in the manual too. For you, you might want to make sure everything's going to line up before you go sticking things to your windows. In my case, the combination of the defroster built into the rear window and the snow outside made attaching the rear camera a real chore, but I think I can blame that on the weather. If you install the camera on a warm, dry day, unlike what I had to deal with, you shouldn't have any trouble. The great thing about most modern dash cams is that you don't need to think about them. They just quietly sit there until you need them. This one works that way too, so once you have it set up, it'll just run in the background until you actually need it. Out of the box, the Pro Duo comes set to record at the second highest bitrate. This will work fine for most people, but you'll want to adjust it based on the side of your micro SD card. In my case, I bumped the quality up to maximum because I was making this video, but I don't see why most people would need that. Depending on how you drive and where you drive, there are some features you may want to turn on or off. Motion detection will automatically record if the camera sees movement. This may be handy to use while parked, but only if the camera is hardwired. You can also use time-lapse recording in order to save space on your card if need be. Daytime video quality is decent on both the front and rear cameras. Obviously, the 4K resolution on the front camera gives it a slight edge, but details like license plate numbers are easy to make out in the footage on either camera. Nighttime footage is okay, but not nearly as good as we've seen on other dash cams. On the front camera, bitrate makes the big difference, with lower bitrate saving space but making details hard to make out. As I mentioned before, you want to set this as high as you can to make sure you don't miss anything without filling up your card too quick. There are much better dash cams out there, there's no doubt about that. It really comes down to what features you need, what features you want, and what you're willing to spend. If you've got the budget for a pricier dash cam, you may want to go for that, but the Viofo A129 Pro Duo does have a nice feature set for the price. Even a single 4K front camera with these features would be nice. Throw in the 1080p rear camera, and it's a nice bargain. There's a lot to say about this dash cam, so much so that not all of it made it into the video. For the full rundown, read the article over at makeuseof.com. You can find a link down in the description. While you're there, you can enter a giveaway to win one of these for yourself. If that's all you care about, just head to makeuseof.com/giveaways. When you get to the part about a video bonus question, enter double vision, all one word. Thanks to Viofo for providing this for review, and thanks to you for watching.